Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we begin a Monday, the countdown is on. Gary, how are you?
I need to be healed. I need to be healed. Let us hear now. Let us hear from Pastor Kamala.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. The path may seem hard, the work may seem heavy, but joy cometh in the morning, and church morning is on its way.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Well, I guess I was wrong all this time. I guess, indeed, she's qualified to lead the free world. What was I thinking? If she had only done that, months ago.
The accent in the beginning, I mean, it's just like, oh, my.
It's like AOC when she gets at the podium and she starts bouncing up and down like she's a preacher. You wouldn't know how to find a church. What are you doing?
The thing I like, whoever posted
It's the one
said,
with the crosses, right?
somebody posted, is she high? It's like,
Yeah. You kidding me?
well, interesting weekend. You can tell it's, just, what are we now? Within 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
8 days.
8 days.
8 days.
1 week from tomorrow.
Yeah. You can tell we're close because anything that happens is the biggest thing politically in the world.
Yeah. Right.
Any little thing that happens on social media, boom! Well, this is it. That's it. That's it. That's all you need to know.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm used to it. We've done enough of these.
Yeah.
Elections where
it's look, this one was very unique. I say was because honestly, it is about over. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It really is like mid-morning Christmas Day. You haven't opened the presents yet, but it's pretty much over. It's you're not going to get. You've got one little 5-day run here. If you're Kamala or if you're Trump, you saw the New York Post story. They had 20,000 on the inside, and then they said tens of thousands on the outside. I don't know where would they, if that's accurate, where tens of thousands would have been for the rally in New York at Madison Square Garden. It says they could have sold the garden twice.
Yeah, I mean, I saw everything from 20,000 outside to 98,000 based on cell phones.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see any images of the outside that would show. I mean, I saw some on the street, but I mean like a wide shot, did anybody have that? Did I miss that?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
Of the people outside?
I didn't see it.
I mean, there was a pretty good crowd outside. For sure.
Yeah.
They couldn't get in.
Yeah.
All those red hats in New York City. Oh, my gosh. People I think of all the celebrities, all the celebrities based in New York, Stephen Colbert's of the world, just eating dirt. They see all those
Well, I mean,
MAGA hats.
And you saw that anything that was said, there the left would take or the right would take, and you and I are looking at it, and it was funny because in our pre-show meeting you went, well, I really don't care. You're being sarcastic. I really don't care. I've already voted.
It didn't affect me.
It didn't affect me.
It wouldn't matter if it did.
We've already voted.
I've already voted.
We had some guy emailed us furious at us because we voted early.
Okay.
He seemed to believe that we voted early by mail. Apparently, he doesn't understand Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not from Texas.
I don't care what anybody thinks about how I vote or when I vote.
But that's where this guy was furious, livid at us for voting by mail.
I don't
early.
care.
And it's just I'm not asking you whether you care. I'm trying to make the point that that's how sensitive everybody is on anything that happens, even something that's stupid or shouldn't even be important to anybody. How we not who we voted for, but how we voted sent this guy into a tizzy.
Well, I'm glad you don't care that I don't care, but I don't care. So
I don't.
It's worthless. It's something I've already done, and you can go straight to hell. You don't get to tell me how I vote. You just don't. You don't get to tell me I vote.
It made me laugh because it just, and obviously it's somebody from the left, because anybody who is a Trump supporter or a Republican would be happy that we voted.
Any conservative knows even if you don't live in Texas, likely knows that what the state set up for people.
Yeah.
So I've got two parents that aren't doing well. I've got every reason to vote as soon as I can. So
I have a dentist appointment on voting day next Tuesday. So
yeah, it's I don't care what other people think. You should not. And you should shut up.
Oh my God!
Because it does nothing. You wasted a bunch of energy. And then he called us some choice names. It was interesting. He called us choice names, and he was using emojis that proved that he was that choice name that I can't name on the air. Dude, what are you, a 13-year-old girl? Man, that's embarrassing. I wouldn't show that to anybody. Oh, wait, I just posted it on social media. Oh, no. Yeah. We've gotten into this new age of, you shouldn't, and I can't believe you. I heard that from people who actually are conservative on other issues. You shouldn't do this. Who the hell are you? You don't get to tell me. Do you know what liberty means? You have any idea how any of this works? The mob doesn't rule. Punk. Morons, man. Seriously.
You
wasting a ton of their energy.
You punk.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
Did you see that Trump is up in the Real Clear Politics polling?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just by 1/10 of a point, but they went, that hasn't happened.
Well, again, look at the polls where they were especially you go back to 2016 and how off they were, and how off some of them were in 2020. I look right now at the states. I had a relative who was concerned that she went to vote in our state. She and her husband went to vote, and she saw a Kamala Harris sign, didn't see a Trump sign outside the voting place, at the polling place. And I said, well, actually, that shows you who's more worried. I don't even notice the signs because there are so many of them at the polling places. I don't even look at them. That doesn't imagine you show up and you go, oh, okay, well, I saw a sign outside. I was going to vote for the other person, but I saw a sign outside that told me I should vote for this person. Doesn't work that way. And it shows you how desperate they are. That's some volunteer for their campaign who knows that they're in deep. Plus, it's Texas. So,
but I'm looking at,
she's not going to win Texas.
Looking at the Real Clear Politics average. And again, the Real Clear Politics average includes polls that we don't believe are accurate. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe, is Rasmussen not a part of it?
in the
real
latest
clear
RCP
in the
average?
real right, because a few of the most accurate pollsters are. I think it's Rasmussen. They didn't. Let me just see if it's in here. Okay, no, they've got it in. They've got it in.
I was going to say,
All right.
I saw Rasmussen.
They've got it in there. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether they had it in or not. But if you look at it for the battleground states, where was I had it, and then it zapped somewhere else here. Come on, let's get there. It is right here. Okay, nationally, this is the average, and you have to look at it going back. And this is the stuff that's important. I mean, we'll get to the rally stuff and everything else, and the whole Nazi thing. Did you see MSNBC? Oh my God, it's just unbelievable. But the 2016, Clinton was up 5.6 points at this point right now, plus 5.6. Biden was up 7.4. Trump's up 0.1. Wisconsin, Clinton was up 6. Biden was up 5.5. Trump up 0.2. Pennsylvania, Clinton was up 5. Biden 3.8. Trump 0.5. Ohio, Trump plus 1 in 2016. In 2020, 0.6. Now 7. In Michigan, Clinton was up 7 in 2016. Biden was up 9 points in 2020. Trump plus 0.2. Arizona, Clinton was up 1.5. Biden was up 2.4. Trump is up 1.5. Nevada, Clinton up 2 points in 2016. Biden 4.6 in 2020. Trump 0.7. North Carolina, Clinton plus 3 in 2016. Biden 4.6 in 2020. Trump 0.7. North Carolina, Clinton 3. Biden 0.7. Trump plus 0.8. Georgia, Trump 2.5 in 2016. Trump 0.4 in 2020. 2.3 in 2024. And finally, Florida, Clinton was up 1 in 2016. Trump up 0.4 in 2020. Trump up 8.4 now in Florida, the Real Clear Politics average. So there you go. That's where we stand right now. Every battleground state, Trump is winning in the Real Clear Politics average. And on the most accurate pollsters, he has even a bigger lead.
Yep. Yep. It's, the trend is pretty clear. You think of where they are. If you think of Madison Square Garden getting that kind of, response, he's not going to win New York. But the point is, I mean, you're hoping to get a couple of the House seats, maybe. This is the idea. People ask, why would you waste time in New York? I actually also think that it shows something to the left. It demonstrates something to the left when it happens. The far left is never going to be influenced. That's not who you're trying to influence. But there are some Democrats, rank and file, who look at this and they're doing what Michael Rappaport and others are doing right now. And they're looking and saying, my gosh, I've been lied to this whole time. I can't believe a friend of mine, actually, it was a relative that told me, a friend of hers, it was about 6 months ago, woke up to all the lies the same way that Michael Rappaport did.
I sent you something that he said, was that Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that has been happening. I guarantee you there's a lot more Democrats. I don't know how many, but there's a lot more. It's not just Michael Rappaport. When my relative was telling me about that, she's telling me about this school teacher, actually, who had just been railing against Trump all these years. And then about 6 months ago, said, I didn't know that this happened. I didn't know that this happened. I didn't know that this happened. Keep in mind, Biden was still in at that point. Kamala Harris has been a gift to the GOP. If you think about where we were when Biden was still in, whatever his cognitive issues were, cognitive issues will often bring with them empathy and sympathy. Not that you necessarily believe he's capable of running the country for 4 more years, but you don't turn him off the way you turn her off. She's lying on her major core issues to sound more like Trump. She doesn't know how to do an interview with the friendliest leftist interview for her. And any of the media that's had her on, when they do the post-analysis, they're all shaking their heads going, well, if she had just done this, if she had just said this. In other words, she doesn't know what to do. She's clueless. There's one thing about cognitive issues, but Joe Biden used to know how to campaign. She's never known how to campaign and never will.
You see the bar scene?
Yeah.
Shoot the bar.
Yeah.
Wasn't that fake?
Yeah, it was horrible.
God, it's just
It was stupid.
bad.
It was stupid.
With Whitmer, I think.
Yeah, this weekend was filled with more stupidity.
We've got great stuff. Great audio coming up. 86690 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. As the seasons change, so does truck maintenance. Cold weather can affect everything from your batteries and air brake system to tire inflation and fuel lines. Here's a maintenance tip to help make sure your rig is ready when winter comes knocking. Have your batteries tested by a certified technician. Dead batteries are one of the most common causes of winter breakdowns. Testing them now will indicate whether or not they can keep up with electrical demands of your truck this winter. When you have your batteries tested, check the alternator for sufficient amperage and voltage output as well. Find a professional technician near you to have your batteries and alternator tested today, so you'll be ready when the seasons change.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Here we go, the last full week before the election. And, well, who knows? Election results. Who knows? The election.
Well,
election
this is how
results.
bad it is. This is how bad it's going for the Kamala Harris campaign. She went to church. Better get right with the Lord.
You know the thing the thing last week when they started with the whole Madison Square Garden and the whole Nazi, trying to compare it to the Nazi rally back in 1939. Is when I first heard that I said, "Oh, okay, what's the point that ties Trump into that?" And I'm like, what are they using? Nothing. They were just saying.
Well, I thought it was Trump.
The what?
I thought it was Trump. Are you asking what ties Trump into a Nazi rally?
No. What was it? How they were trying to make the argument? And you're right. It was just because Trump was having a rally.
Trump.
And it's funny because it was like, yeah, but Hillary was saying the same thing. That's where the DNC was held for her husband in 1992. Mm-hmm. So is he a Nazi? But I thought there was there was no tie-in. It was simply, well, if he's going to hold one, back at some point in time, the Nazis held a rally. Therefore, Trump is a Nazi. Mm-hmm. What?
You're listening to Red Eye Radio. from the Uniden America Studios.
And it's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And you did see where they asked Mayor Adams of New York City whether he believes Trump is a fascist, and he said no.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about the Nazi, the fascist, and everything else, and I think it was National Review that went back into the history of how far it goes back that Republicans have been called Nazis and fascists.
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh my gosh, it goes back. It goes back a long time ago. But as we know, the modern day started with, as we know, with Bush and then McCain and then Romney and then, of course, Trump.
Right.
And but here it is. Oh, let me see if I can find them. Here's the Mayor Adams one. Here we go.
Mr. Mayor, I wondered if I could ask you about any communications you've been having with the Trump campaign about this rally or otherwise, and if you believe, as others have said, that the former president is a fascist.
You know, I have been had those terms hurled at me by some political leaders in the city, using terms like Hitler and fascist. My answer is no. I know what Hitler has done, and I know what a fascist regime looks like. I think, as I've called over and over again, that the level of conversation, I think we could all dial down the temperature.
There you go. Well, somebody asked me over the weekend, what do you think about it? And I went, well, look, it's not true. It's not proper. It's not, I believe, moral in the political system to do that. But I expect that from Democrats because they're desperate. We've covered this for such a long time. They can't win on any issue. They have no choice.
We know what this looks like. As you just mentioned, we've been at it for a while. And the more desperate they are, the heavier they throw. This week is going to be filled with it. It's going to be burn everything down. We're beyond scorched earth, so anything left. Because, I was telling you, my wife and I both watched part, not all of the Joe Rogan interview with Trump. And it was, I think Rogan was on point. He was a little bit different than he is with other guests, but he was also kind of true to himself. And you could tell he was kind of frustrated with a couple of answers, and then he would go back and, kind of hit it a different way, and then Trump would address it. But for me and my wife, it's like listening to Christmas music in January. We've already voted. We were always going to vote for Trump. And so I'm thinking of hearts and minds, and I'm thinking, again, I go back to what I've been saying. I really don't believe there are many, if any, in fact, I don't really believe we really have the number of undecideds that we would in the last few weeks before an election. And now we're 8 days out, and that number typically drops to nothing. And I think we're beyond that. I think it's actually moved faster in this election cycle to that point. And so I don't, I think it was good. The fact that he sat there for 3 hours, he really was not, he didn't really flinch. He doesn't really flinch at all on questions. And I saw the liberal media, I think it was the Washington Post, his confusing sentences and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, it's not going anywhere. I think it was an interesting, here's where I think it will serve, that particular interview I think will serve historically. That we'll look back at it and go, when you go back and you revisit that interview that he did, because a long form interview like that, I don't know the last time we've seen any. I know he had Bernie. I know Joe Rogan had Bernie on, but I don't. In terms of either of the two party nominees. I don't know that he did that at all before. I don't know if that was the first time. I think it was.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's done a 3-hour interview.
Yeah, with the nominee. I know he's done. I know.
Yeah.
Bernie has been on, and other people that have run for office have been on. RFK Jr. was on before he dropped out and joined the Trump team. But the point is, I think that when you have that, when you have that moment of, it's like, and Trump was, he wasn't, he again said something that he said last week, I'm not supposed to say anything. I'll get in trouble on the polls.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, but we're doing very well. We're doing very well. That's an indicator that and we've heard that from other surrogates, by the way, from the Trump team, that their internals are showing things that look very, very good for them.
Here's, if I'm a campaign manager, here's what's important to me. You're already much more attractive as a candidate to men. And we all know that the majority of Rogan's audience is young men. Mm-hmm. Maybe not traditional conservative or Democrat men either. Mm-hmm. Probably when you look at it, there's a lot of young men who look at that and say, all right, it's Rogan. It's not part of the mainstream media. It's different. He brings on different guests. I don't agree with everything, but there seems to be a wide open discussion on a variety of different issues. The number that I care about is 32 million so far have watched it on YouTube.
I
just looked.
Yeah, I saw the number yesterday morning. I thought it was higher than that, but no, what I saw yesterday morning was 27 million. So it's 32 now.
32 million. Yeah.
And so
if it was,
I know what I saw. The number across all spectrums was like twice or more than twice that.
Yeah, and that was a part of, I didn't make that point. That was just on YouTube. Across all the spectrums, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
So you're saying it might have been close to 65 to 70 million?
Yeah, that's what someone counted. I have not seen those individual numbers from Spotify because it's I don't know how many different platforms. He's on every platform. He's the number one podcaster. He's on every platform.
Right.
So if someone said 100 million, I wouldn't be shocked.
No. And a week before, that's the kind of thing that you want. Where I saw, Cenk Uygur, the well-known liberal, who thinks Harris is running a terrible campaign, said, "Well, let's not talk about the substance of the actual issues, but he looked great. Mm-hmm. He was everything. It was conversational, and that's what
confident,
conversational, humorous." I thought that this is the thing that caught me because it's something that you and I have said for the longest time. That we've said, actually, conservatives are the rebels.
Right. Yeah.
And listen to what Rogan says, and then the conversation this gets into with Trump.
The rebels are Republicans now. They're like, you want to be a rebel, you want to be punk rock, you want to buck the system, you're a conservative now. That's how crazy. And then the liberals are now pro silencing criticism. They're pro censorship online. They're talking about regulating free speech and they're regulating the First Amendment. It's bananas to watch.
Joe, they come after their political opponent.
Well, they
I
do.
got more guys. I always say, I kid, but I'm not kidding. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the meanest of them all. He'd kill you in 2 seconds if he didn't like you, right? I've been under investigation more than Alphonse Capone, only because it's political opponent stuff. And I've won. I won the big case in Florida. I'm winning the other stuff. You win. But you know what they did? They did something that's only done in third world countries. They came after their political opponent.
Yes.
I could have put crooked Hillary in jail.
Well, not only that, but they're weaponizing it by saying that that's what you're going to do once you get in office.
Isn't it great?
By ignoring what they're doing right now. It's crazy.
I heard it. Somebody was defending me today. They said, no, they say that's what you're doing to him. They're going, he's going to put us in jail. He's going to invest.
That's what you're doing.
That's what you're doing to him.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, will you do that? Will you do that to him to them if you win? You know, the presidency has tremendous power. I could have put crooked Hillary
I
in
respected
jail.
that you didn't, because what you said was it would be bad for the country.
So there you have it. And Trump has said that. That's not the first time he said that in recent days. He said that. When asked about a possible pardon for Hunter Biden, you know, he talked about, well, look, I made sure that it didn't happen, but because in terms of putting Hillary in jail, and he said, I think it's bad for the country. And he also alluded to the fact that, you know, if Hunter Biden were going to jail at the time he were coming into office, it would be bad for the country. It would look to the world like it's a back and forth. And I think he's right about that. People outside the U.S. would think, oh, my gosh, you know, and so there would be less confidence. Now, when you look at the actual charges of Hunter Biden, they're very different, and they're substantial. And Hunter Biden has pleaded guilty, in fact, to a number of those crimes. But still, the point is that when you look at Trump's demeanor, what you see here is a guy, you know, this was the podcast landed on Friday. You know, you're a week and a half from Election Day. This is a guy with everything. And at one point, Rogan was saying, let me see your ear, the scar. And he turned and he goes, you know, it made me tougher. He goes, it made me tougher. And then Joe Biden kind of laughed because
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan, sorry. I almost did that earlier. Joe Rogan laughed, and I laughed at the same time because that's Trump right there. Instead of saying, oh, my gosh, it was so scary that day, he was like, no, it made me tougher. And you're talking about a bullet that was a quarter inch from taking his life. And he went on then to keep talking about the issues. These are two vastly different candidates. They're always different. But what have we heard in the past over the years? You and I have heard it. I don't know. I wish I had $1 for every time I heard it. They're just alike. They're just alike. And the two parties are just alike. We've had problems with the Republicans becoming more like Democrats for a number of years as a party. But when it gets down to these two candidates, they are vastly different. I'll tell you right now, I couldn't say that about John McCain and Barack Obama in 2008. Yes, they're different people. Yes, because he's not the same as Barack because he's a different person. I give the Kamala answer. But there were too many things that John McCain was too left on. And that was the concern for a lot of us. The same with Mitt Romney in 2012. And it really wasn't until 2016, and then he was different because he had never run for office. He was a celebrity coming in, and then he actually won in 2016. But when you get to this election cycle, these two are vastly different individuals. And one is qualified to be president, and the other one never will be.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. One of Trump's, final closing arguments in a commercial coming up, which almost uses exactly what we said he should, which is Kamala broke it, Trump will fix it, which is the same thing that we've always said.
Yeah.
They can't fix the problem because they caused a problem. It was interesting because you had because of the think about this. How much publicity the Democrats gave the Madison Square Garden rally
Yeah.
by calling it fascist.
Yeah.
You watch
Yeah,
it.
that's true. It's really something that otherwise, well, no, tell me other than the rally where he got shot, any other rally that got attention this season.
Yeah, this kind of publicity. So he was all over the place, and Vance all over the Sunday morning news shows. Everything was dominated this weekend with Trump and Vance.
Yeah. Yeah, and she doesn't have an impact. Who was it that said the other night, Kamala Harris had a debate with herself and she lost?
Yeah.
On the whole town hall thing on CNN? Yeah. It's absolutely true.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, here we go. Just a couple of sentences here. To listen to Democrats, you'd think nothing has ever happened with any political salience at Madison Square Garden except for a big Nazi rally in 1939, providing yet more evidence that Trump is a proto-fascist since he, too, had a rally there tonight.
Well, it's like the Babylon Bee did the 9 reasons why Trump is just like Hitler.
Yeah.
And it's, they both breathe air, things like that.
Because it skips over FDR's consequential speech in the arena in 1936, JFK's birthday party in 1962, as well as the Democratic conventions of 1976, 1980, 1992, and George W. Bush's highly effective convention in 2004. That the Garden is an inherently fascist venue is among one of the dumbest things we've heard in this campaign. Amazingly enough, Hillary Clinton has repeated this line, apparently assuming that it will never be brought up to the attention of MSNBC viewers that multiple Democratic conventions have been held there, including that of her husband in 1992.
Yeah. By the way, one thing that stood out, too, was that Hillary Clinton really has been confined to MSNBC. It's down to that. They're the only ones that will believe. It's so bad right now for the Democrats. They're just making complete fools of themselves. Where is the self-awareness? Where is the person? It used to be. It wasn't that long ago where there was one among them that would say, guys, this is stupid. Let's make another point. We can throw out the word Hitler, trying to make the direct comparison because it's the same venue, which, by the way, people point out it's actually not. They tore down the old one. And they built a new one. And it's insane, especially when you talk about people like Hillary Clinton. But she's, again, the one that was also on MSNBC recently saying that people who engage in misinformation should go to jail. Starting with people who said, I did not have sex with that woman. Maybe that second part was added by me, but I would think it would qualify if you're Hillary, right? There's the picture. There's where we are. If you look around, if if you take your shades off for a minute and you look around the room, Hillary basically is confined to going to MSN because they'll let her lie about anything. They'll let her just get away with the, and the lack of self-awareness. Well, that's their motto. They went from lean forward to we have a complete lack of self-awareness. I'm pretty sure that's their official motto at MSNBC. It's weird how they have gone from being, and they used to want people to believe they were the hippest. They were the cutting edge party. They were smart. They're still kind of using that, the educated versus the uneducated BS. But they used to seemingly have some self-awareness. But now all of that is gone. I mean, they all come off looking like morons, the ones who are speaking for the left.
That was from Rich Lowry. I want to make sure I give credit to that. Madison Square Garden smear.
Good piece.
This, just a couple sentences from Beckett Adams' column in National Review. It isn't. Can voters help but be unfazed? After all, they've heard this all before about Nazi and fascism. That Republican is a fascist. Vote for me. This is the problem with abusing a word like fascism, especially to attack individuals who are most certainly not fascist. People eventually get accustomed to the noise, and they learn to block it out. In 1964, following Senator Barry Goldwater's acceptance speech at the Republican National Convention, Democratic Governor Pat Brown remarked that the address had the stench of fascism. All we needed to hear was Heil Hitler. In the 1980s, President Reagan was charged by Democratic Representative William Clay of Missouri with trying to replace the Bill of Rights with fascist precepts lifted verbatim from Mein Kampf. In Esquire magazine, they said Reagan voters, that they were like the good Germans in Hitler's Germany. Later in the 1990s, late Representative John Dingell of Michigan characterized the conservative-controlled House as a cross between the Russian legislature and Nazi Germany. In the decade that followed, Al Gore accused George W. Bush of unleashing squadrons of digital brown shirts to harass and hector any journalist who was critical of the president. There were no shortages of materials, books, songs, TV episodes, artwork, and posters comparing Bush to Hitler. It's all a Google search away. And then in 2012, South Carolina Democratic Party Chairman Nick Harpootlian infamously compared then Republican Governor Nikki Haley to Hitler's mistress, Eva Braun. There's much more where this comes from, courtesy of authors Larry Elder and Steve Hayward, where they went and they did all the analysis of all the different Democrats that called Republicans fascist and or Nazis over the years. And then finally, the left comes up with Antifa. We used to call it Antifa when nobody knew who they were because we figured that's what they were calling themselves, because anti-fascist, and they end up being fascist. Yeah. Everything is posterior backwards.
Right.
And the anti-racism movement in this country is racism.
Yeah.
And eventually people are going to wake up. I hope it's this election that people wake up. The polls are showing that people are waking up, but they had nowhere to go. So that was the thing that got me last week, is I was looking there because I was like, okay. And I, by the way, I did realize it wasn't the same Madison Square Garden that was there in 1939.
Yeah.
It's a different building.
Yeah.
So now it can be a completely different building with the same name.
Right.
And somehow that relates to Nazi Germany.
Right.
The building wasn't even the same.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to find the tie-in. Is there some kind of tie-in? Is it on the exact date? Did Trump say, I wish to hold a Nazi rally like the German or like the Nazis did in 1939? No, I can't find that anywhere. Oh, really? They're just saying that.
Yeah.
Because it's in a building that has the same name of a building that no longer exists, where Nazis held a convention, that now that Trump is holding just a political rally 9 days before the election, in a presidential election in which he is a candidate. Oh, that's why it's related to the Nazis. It makes no damn sense. It's so damn weak.
Well, and they're also still in the mode, and have been forever, the left believes you're stupid. So
yeah,
they take this, they draw more attention to it, and then they point out it's a Nazi rally. Well, why are they calling it a Nazi rally? Oh, really? They have to go back that far? And it's not even the same building? Oh, wait, and Democrats have done it, and their party has done it?
Here it is.
You know, that's the insanity of the left right there in full play. And this is going to go on, well, probably forever, actually. It's not just, it won't quit on Election Day, but they're going to ramp it up in the next week.
Here's MSNBC, part of their coverage, and you can see they got the banner. Trump's MSG rally comes 85 years after pro-Nazi rally at the famed arena.
Yeah.
It wasn't that arena.
No.
It's a different arena.
No, it wasn't. And again, because they believe people are stupid. But I really, we've never believed people are stupid. It's whether you have the will or not to find things out. That's everybody. Right. Every 7-year-old has a cell phone now, has a smartphone.
Let's play a little bit of their coverage. You ready?
All right,
here we go.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen, in that place is particularly chilling because in 1939, more than 20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally.
There it is. That's on MSNBC yesterday, their coverage of it.
Yeah. Wow. There's no measure to how bad they're going that was shredded on social media for every reason we just mentioned. They don't have any self-awareness at all. That actually sounds like a bit from SNL. And one of the not funny bits, it's like, it's and the reason it wouldn't be funny, you know, we always say it's funny because it's true. And it would be, even in comedy, would be shredded in the minds of people going, yeah, but it wasn't the actually same place. That's how clueless they are right now. But then I started thinking, you know, of course. Look, Hillary is counting on the younger demographic to, number one, not even know anything about the entire Russian hoax thing that she was the captain of. She's counting on the younger generation to not know anything about Bill's actions. You know, she's hoping people are, the young liberal is just infinitely stupid and blind and ignorant. Some of them are willfully ignorant. But that's what she's counting on. The younger liberal was formed, indoctrinated, and they're out on this mission. And quite frankly, they don't care. Their lack of self-awareness shows they don't care, because tomorrow they're on to the next thing. You know, stuff boomerangs in their face almost immediately on a regular basis. And yet they don't learn from it. You know, it's like one of those stupid dogs. They just keep chasing their own tail. They're just running around in circles, chasing their own tail, and they'll never, it's just, well, that one's not going to learn any tricks. That one's not going to learn reality. They're not going to learn any lessons from any of it. And it goes beyond the willful ignorance. It is the indoctrination of, and this is how many of them, boom, 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 and then you push them through that liberal university final indoctrination 4-year plan, and then all of a sudden you spit them out into the world, and they're doing stupid things like what you just heard.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Most owner-operators leased to larger carriers are paid on a per-mile basis or a percentage of revenue per load. The per-mile basis is most prevalent among larger fleets, percentage at smaller. Pay per mile tends to dominate discussions about pay just because it's easier to measure, and pay per mile often is wrongly used as the deciding factor in leasing to a carrier. While pay per mile can be a vital factor, it's not a cure for every ill, nor does it mean a big settlement check is coming an owner-operator's way. Why? Because pay per mile always must be considered in balance with gross revenue as well as total costs. Gross revenue can include flat mileage pay that varies by length of haul, percentage revenue pay, and more. Most importantly, though, for every revenue dollar generated, only part of that dollar is profit. But for every extra dollar of cost saved, the entire dollar contributes to profit. Knowing and understanding your cost to operate is fundamental to understanding the true value of any pay package. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. You know, I still find it fascinating that, you know, using the whole fascism and the whole Nazi thing, trying to relate it to World War II, Germany, and it's really interesting because if you go back and you look at what happened in Germany, and in fact, I was watching another. Well, it came up in Shuffle about 2 weeks ago. And once something comes up in Shuffle and you watch it, anything that relates to it keeps continuing, you know, coming up.
Yeah.
If you hit anything that relates to that topic again,
right?
They know my algorithms. And another documentary came up about, you know, the Nazi guards at the concentration camps, and how many came from middle class families, but bought into and they talked about that, you know, middle-class jobs, whatever, and it was the government that was that succeeded in telling the working class, these are the people to blame. The Jews are the people to blame. In Poland, you know, the Polish people were considered genetically inferior, and that whole. But one of the first people they killed was the intelligentsia, was the elite, was the well-educated, was the university people. That's who they killed. They killed them first. Think of what's going on in the United States right now. Everything that you see is actually coming from the intelligentsia, and which is, you know, the so-called well-educated, and the top universities are the ones promoting all of the Nazism and fascism of the anti-Semitism, the identity politics, the misogyny of the radical transgender movement. It's actually being driven by the intelligentsia. The Democratic Party, yes, is falling behind on it. You know, they're falling, you know, right behind on it and throwing it out. But the working class isn't buying it in the United States.
Well, it makes you wonder because, you know, in the past, the thought may have been, well, you don't want the well-educated, you're looking to target them first because you think that they're a threat. Well, when you actually talk about education, well, it's the middle class, it's the working people that have that know more things. They're the ones, in fact,
less brainwashed.
The harder they work, the more conservative they tend to be. And they're not indoctrinated, they're not brainwashed, they're not brainwashable, if that's a word. And that's the threat to them. This is who they want to target. And it's been very clear for a long time And it's also a reason why I think we'll never, in our lifetime, I don't believe we'll see the Democrats become the class of the working people. They used to be the blue-collar class. I don't think you're going to be able to see that. I don't think you'll see that again in our lifetime because of the way that they treat individuals who actually work for a living and target individuals who work for a living. Again, they believe you're stupid. And I think the underlying thought and concern, too, is that they believe and they see that you're in control of your life. They don't want that at any level.
On our website, RedEyeRadioShow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome, good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. The podcast is put together just a couple of minutes after we're off the air, and it's a repeat of our show. So you can catch exactly what we're talking about on the show whenever you want.
And thank you.
Yep. All right, here's a commercial ad that Scott Jennings put out. It said this released this weekend, just released spot from Trump. Here we go.
Kamala backed Biden on everything. She was the deciding vote for his disastrous economic agenda. They raised taxes on the middle class, and prices soared. Kamala was in charge of his open border policies, giving welfare to illegals while Americans struggle. And their weakness invited wars. Now Kamala wants to double down on failure. It's time to turn the page on Joe and Kamala's failed agenda. President Trump fights for you. His strength kept us safe. Trump cut taxes for families. Prices were lower and the border secure. Now President Trump can do it again.
And we are going to launch a new golden age of American success for the citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed.
Remember, Kamala broke it. President Trump will fix it.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Yep, there you go. The first time we've seen or heard it in an ad, but at least they're using it. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen my check yet from that, but I'm guessing we'll get paid at some point. You know, it takes a while.
Well, I thought it was just a fascinating weekend.
Yeah.
You know, starting with you know, the build up to it, because a lot of people asking the question, why would Trump hold it in Madison Square Garden? He's not going to win New York.
Right.
He's not going to. So why would he do it? Well, number one, it's where he's from.
Yeah.
Number two, that is the bastion of the lawfare that has been put upon him. Number three, it would have been it was a national address, but the Democrats, even by calling it, by relating it, that this is going to be a Nazi fascist rally, they actually and they, you know, a lot of, I don't know how much MSNBC covered of it, but if you watched it, you said, no, it's not. It's just a rally, just a rally. It was because of where he did it, and then you combine that with Rogan. Think about this. This is a president who, in the weekend before, 8 days before an election, if you count the Rogan interview and this, might have hit 100 to 150 million hits on what he was doing and what he was saying, and part of it based on the crying fascist, the crying Nazi, not the crying wolf, of the Democrats. And then you had, and we're going to be playing some of his audio, you had JD Vance all over the Sunday morning news shows. I mean, and just hitting every single point, arguing, debating absolutely in the correct way.
Yeah.
Trump still has, you can hear Trump. I mean, I heard Trump on Rogan. You compare him to JD Vance, you're like, oh, come on, do better. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We said a month ago the election is done.
Well, and you really have to you have to listen to what he's actually saying, the points he's actually making when he's talking. He had nice compliments for JD Vance on Rogan. But something you hit there, it's the bastion for New York being the bastion for the lawfare. Quite often when there is that, that, and we've never seen anything on this scale, but when you see that kind of activity or anything even close to that kind of activity, locally there's support for it. When you see the fact that they've got tens of thousands on the inside at Madison Square Garden and then people on the streets outside that could come in, New York Post making the point, by their numbers, they could have sold out Madison Square Garden twice. There is something there. Ramaswamy calling New York a swing state. It's now a swing state. I'm not going to go that far. But the impact that you leave behind, not what I'm wondering, not the impact of the actual rally and the turnout for the rally, but what constituted the desire for so many people to be there. It's the opposite. It's not, well, the impact is going to have, from the rally, well, it may have impact with a few people, but it's why. It's actually the impact of everything else that led to that turnout at the rally. I'm interested to see. He's not going to win New York State, but I'm interested to see the votes compared to past elections in New York, just like every other place. Because when you look at the national scale, now that RCP on the national, we don't look at the national scale as anything other than, okay, it's a kind of an opinion poll, kind of a, you got to get down to the states in terms of who's going to win the election. However, it's an indication of more and more people. And I'm wondering how many Democrats in those blue areas that are no longer on this anti-Trump kick. They're no longer in this mode where he's toxic at every level. There are the core left, and those individuals will remain.
Oh, yeah.
It's a given. Yeah. How many outside of that have a completely different mindset? Indicators are pretty clear and numerous that the toxicity is all but gone against Trump.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what he does in New York because, what was it, Lee Zeldin, was it 8?
Yeah.
That Zeldin lost by, and people are like, whoa, he only lost by 8.
Right.
Can Trump can Trump match that in New York State?
Right.
That will be interesting to see if he could, because that would give hope. When we had played earlier the Rogan interview where Rogan said, look, the rebels, when you look at politics out there, the rebels are actually the conservatives. They're the ones that are promoting freedom. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that are promoting liberty. It's interesting because a lot of people took notice of all the celebrities that are supporting Harris and saying it really doesn't mean anything. You're talking about celebrities. Then you've got somebody from the business world who's supporting you, and his best argument is you're not going to be doing what you say you're going to be doing. Therefore, he's going to vote for you.
Right.
Talking about Cuban.
Right.
Well, she's not going to do that. Well, she's not going to do that.
Right.
Oh, no way she's not going to do that. Well, I don't believe she's going to do that. That's the best surrogate on the business level that you've got for Harris. You've got so many celebrities out there, whether they just speak for 4 minutes or perform, disappointing a Houston audience. But when you think about it, musicians, now this comes from, I got a couple of years on you, this comes from the 60s, but musicians were always suspicious of government.
Mm-hmm.
When you saw what were viewed in my time as the radical musicians out there, you know, they were promoting, we don't believe the government.
Yeah.
We don't want to be in an unnecessary war.
Right.
We want free speech. Free speech. The Democrats, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the Democrats were all over free speech.
Yeah.
They've completely abandoned it. You and I talk about, you know, that when you go back to, you know, Bush and remember Rage Against the Machine and, you know, came out with their, and now you see anything on social media from Rage Against the Machine and you see people go, I used to be a fan, but you know something? They're raging for the machine now.
Right.
They're a part of the machine. Rage Against the Machine, Green Day, all these other artists, Bruce Springsteen, who comes out, they're all pro-censorship. They're all anti-free speech. They're exactly the opposite of what musicians and artists used to be going back a little over a half century to 60 years ago in this country.
Right.
It really is amazing to watch this, where it is actually the working class that has come out, according to all the polls, and said, we've had enough.
Yeah.
You know, we've had enough. Now, inflation, probably a great driver of that. And what's going on at the border, a great driver of that. But it's fascinating to watch this, because what I see here, because you think about this, if Trump wins next week, it is the biggest political comeback in all of American history.
Yeah.
There's nothing that comes close to this.
Right. Yeah.
And I know that's not, I believe that. I don't sit up nights worrying about it. I worry about where we're going as a nation and what policies we're going to put forward. And once if he wins and gets in, I want him to do the right thing, and I want Republicans to do the right thing, which I'm sure we'll talk about at that point. But it is because of everything that he has been through. We've never seen anything like this. There's never been anything like this, at all. And what I wish to see, I wish for the public, and I think it's happening, and I credit the Republicans for pounding the misogyny of the radical transgender movement. And I think they also now, especially since the Nazi and fascism are coming up, they need to point out to the American people over and over again. I think the American people know, but you need to repeat it. The repetition is what wins you elections. They need to talk about the racism of the identity politics. You saw it last week with blacks.
Yeah.
When Obama came out.
Yeah.
And they talked to the focus group of black men. Said it's like he's trying to herd all the N-words together. Mm-hmm. All right, all you come over here and think this way. That's identity politics. So people are getting it.
Right. Well, and they were spot on everything. You could tell everything. They went straight to the point. Again, the liberals believe people are stupid. We never have. It's what you choose to look at, choose to pay attention to, and if you choose to find the truth yourself. But there was no way that it wasn't going to get to this point. When you separate people into groups, and then subgroups, and then more subgroups, well, then you're getting down to the individual, because now the person that was part of the victim group is now one of the oppressors. Well, the most recent example, the left going after black men.
Yeah. Yep. You're a bunch of misogynists for not supporting a woman.
You're now the oppressor.
Yep.
This is who they are. This is the only tactic that they have, is to separate, carve individuals into more and more groups. Well, we said it. Eventually, you've got to get people together in order for them to vote to win an election. But even on the greater scale, eventually you get down to what? People thinking like individuals, because now you're going to get down to no more groups being left. They have run the course. The entire gamut has been played. And more individuals are looking at it going, whoa, whoa, whoa. What did I do? Now you're coming after me.
Yep.
And that's who the left is. Nobody is immune.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Well, JD Vance on the Sunday morning news shows. We'll get to some of that. And I keep seeing this, whether it was Bill Maher the other night or reading this editorial here. Kamala Harris's biggest mistake. She should have leveled with the American people about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. It isn't too late. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Whether it was, Bill Maher talking about, she can still make some inroads. No, she can't.
No, it's too late.
I'm sorry, I've covered enough political campaigns. Again, I don't know who's going to win. Polls show right now Trump should.
Yeah.
But the fact is, there's nothing she can change right now.
Yeah, there's not going to be anything different coming from her.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, JD Vance was on the Sunday morning news shows. Like I said, I was amazed how Republicans dominated the media over the weekend. And I mean the specifically the campaign of Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from Joe Rogan to the Madison Square Garden, helped, by the way, by the Democrats screaming it's a Nazi rally. I think that actually helped make more people watch it.
Yeah.
And then they'll go, okay, doesn't seem to be anything Nazi here. I had that experience a couple times in talk radio where the local newspaper would just absolutely blast me as everything in the world. And I actually talked to many people who said, never heard of you. And then I saw the paper blast you, and I said, who is this idiot who's on the air? And then I listened to you, and you were nothing like they said you were.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't hold the opinions. They were lying about you. I go, yep, they certainly were.
Right.
And this goes back 30 years ago.
Right.
When I first encountered.
When our production staff worked at newspapers.
Exactly.
I should stop doing that.
I know. But they were all over the place, including JD Vance with Jake Tapper. And it got really interesting with Jake Tapper. Here's one of those moments. Here we go. This was on State of the Union.
yourself a basic question about network integrity. You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it, and so we recovered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No.
That was totally and preposterously false.
No.
Well, that's
what you just said is
why.
false. We covered an FBI investigation. I don't know why you want to talk about the FBI investigation.
You covered it in a way that gave credence to anonymous sources' accusations. You did it yourself. Your network did it, Jake. But again, can we talk about the issues that Americans care most about?
I'm talking about things that Donald Trump has said.
Yes.
If you have an issue with whether or not he's talking about the economy enough, that's between you and your running mate. I'm talking about things he has said this week.
Every single rally that he does, he talks about how he wants to unleash American energy so we can lower the cost of groceries. He talks about the fact that housing has become unaffordable. He talks about the wide open border, Jake.
Okay, I just wanted to stop it there because then the surrogates started fact-checking. I'm telling you, this is why they absolutely hate X.
Yeah.
Under Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready? Okay.
Yeah.
I believe this is the correct one. There's a couple of them here. I believe this is the correct one I want to play. Here we go. Right.
You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it, and so we recovered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No.
That was totally and preposterously false.
No.
Well, that's
what you just said is
why.
false. President Trump has gone to, quote, extraordinary lengths to keep specifics about his meetings with Russian President Vladimir Putin secret, even keeping them from top members of his own administration. Take a listen to how President Trump responded Saturday night when asked directly if he has ever worked for Russia.
I think it's the most insulting thing I've ever been asked. I think it's the most insulting article I've ever had written.
The president did not directly answer the question. It's a stunning turn of events. Do you think the president of the United States ever worked on behalf of the Russians against American interests?
Look, we covered the same thing.
Yep.
And how we handled it was we said, where's the evidence? This whole thing of Russia, where'd this dossier come from? All right, who in the intelligence agencies are saying it? We look at everything, any issue, any legal issue, we look and say, present me the evidence. Sources mean nothing to us. Evidence means everything to us. There was no evidence, and you could hear how you were implying that the president did something wrong,
and he was trying to deny it.
Yep.
And that's the thing. They go with their implications and everything and how they report. And then they'll come back and go, well, I never said that. You know what you were doing. You're a liar. You're a fake.
Here's Tapper, same thing. They fact since they said, okay, oh no, we're accurate. I'm accurate. Here's Jake Tapper and the Fine People hoax. Here, ready for this?
Yeah.
Here we go.
You have it? Okay, I'm being told we have it. Thank you. Run it, please.
Excuse me, to protest. Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
That was President Trump saying that very fine people were marching alongside neo-Nazis and skinheads and white supremacists.
I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups, but not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
This is a president who said there were, quote, very fine people on both sides in a Charlottesville neo-Nazi Klan march in Charlottesville, and his infamous reference to very fine people. There were, quote, very fine people on both sides of that Charlottesville, Virginia march. And candidate Trump, I tried to get him 3 times to condemn David Duke. He wouldn't do it.
Well, you've got David Duke just joined, a bigot, a racist, a problem. I mean, this is not exactly the people you want in your party.
A lot of people think that he has a soft spot in his heart for, or at least won't condemn, white supremacists.
As I said on Saturday, We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. We are a nation founded on the truth that all of us are created equal.
And there's this big effort by Trump supporters to pretend that the president didn't say what he said, to call this all a hoax.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists.
So that's what you have to do. JD Vance comes out, calls him on it. This is how you have to go after the media.
Yep.
Because after that, everything exists on YouTube.
Yep.
And you can edit it in and say, here's what you said back then in your own words.
Jake Tapper's a liar. He's a fake. He can't ever call himself a journalist. You don't even know the meaning of the word. You're an activist. Full on. And you can deny it all day long. That's more lies. That's what I expect a liar to do, is to deny that they're a liar. You can just say, I hate Trump. I'd believe that. That would be the truth.
And I want to play this one. Kristen Welker. Oh, my gosh. Her face is, I think her face is going to just rip off because it's so tense in there. But she was talking about, he was talking about Russia. And it's like, hey, nobody invaded anybody. And she said, but they were fighting. They were fighting. They were fighting. And that's not about whether they were fighting. It's how did the war start? That's the point we're trying to bring up. Here we go.
When you say that he's an adversary, just to get back to the question, you're not willing to go so far as to call him an enemy.
Well, we're not in a war with him, and I don't want to be in a war with Vladimir Putin's Russia. I think that we should try to pursue avenues of peace. I'd also call China certainly a competitor, but we're not in a war with China either. I do think, though, that China constitutes the biggest threat that we have for the United States of America, and I think that we have to be serious about it. But I think we have to be careful about the language that we use in international diplomacy. We can recognize, obviously, that we have adversarial interests with Russia. We can condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and I have, and of course the president has, but we also need to engage in some smart diplomacy if we're ever going to get out of the mess that Kamala Harris has left us in and get back to a posture of peace.
And of course, Donald Trump was president for 4 years while Russia was essentially invading Crimea. Why didn't he kick him out when he had the chance? He had 4 years.
Oh, I think that's a misunderstanding of the history, Chris. I look at that much differently.
Well, there
First
was
of all,
fighting going on.
We had Russia invade another country, a sovereign nation, during Obama. We had Russia invade a sovereign nation during Bush's term. We had Russia invade a sovereign nation during the leadership of Kamala Harris. The 1 4-year term where Russia did not launch a full-scale invasion against a neighbor was under the leadership of Donald Trump. We also have to remember, just on that point, if Donald Trump had not given Ukraine javelins, the country would not exist as an independent sovereign nation anymore. So the idea that Donald Trump wasn't sufficiently strong on Russia, I think, is belied by the actual history of the period.
Again, there was fighting going on for 4 years during Donald Trump.
But there wasn't a full-scale invasion. I think that's important.
Exactly. The big move, the big land grabs happened. They saw Crimea's. Look, she completely lies about the history. The invasion on Crimea happened during Obama's administration. Everybody knows that. She thinks you're stupid and that you won't fact check it.
Now let's hear this one because she has to get in. Inflation is down, which is a lie.
It is a lie.
Listen to this one here. This is back and forth.
Senator, let's move on because you talked about the threat from China. So this week we learned that China was behind a broad hacking campaign targeting the phones of both presidential campaigns, highlighting the threat that China poses to this country. And yet Donald Trump recently called his domestic political opponents, quote, the enemy from within, and said they are more dangerous than Russia and China. Do you believe that people like Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi are more dangerous than Russia and China?
Well, I think what Donald Trump said is that those folks pose a greater threat to United States' peace and security because America is strong enough to stand up to any foreign adversary.
Do you agree with him? They pose a larger threat to the United States than Russia and China?
What he said, and I do agree with this, what he said is that the biggest threat we have in our country, it's not a foreign adversary because we can handle these guys. We can handle foreign conflicts. We can handle, look, under Nancy Pelosi's long life in public leadership, the United States has gone from the preeminent industrial power of the world to second next to China. That fundamentally belongs on Nancy Pelosi's shoulders. And if we're going to have a more prosperous country, we've got to recognize our own leadership is why we lost our industrial base to China. Our own leadership is failing to lead this country into peace and prosperity. And of course, Kamala Harris, look, when I look at the biggest threats to America, Kristen, I think the fact that people can't afford groceries, the fact that we can't meet our recruitment goals in the military, the fact that Americans have a wide open southern border, that's a way bigger threat than any foreign threat. And yes, it's caused by broken leadership.
And yet, Senator, as you know, inflation is coming down. Let me ask you about some of what we've heard here.
25% higher, Kristen, than it was when Donald Trump left the Oval Office. Do Americans, and this is an important issue. If Americans feel like inflation is a solved problem, then maybe they should vote for Kamala Harris. If you feel like the price of groceries, if you feel like the price of housing is too high, if you feel like inflation is not over, then Donald Trump is your man.
Right.
Funny thing, but the funny thing is, when a Republican is, for example, that was she interrupted him.
Yeah.
They'll always get. Who did they get last? Who was it? Who was it? Was it Brett Baer? Yeah, Brett Baer.
Yeah, his interview with Kamala.
You're right. Brett Baer was interviewing Kamala. Kamala would not answer the question, and he would interrupt her because he didn't want her to filibuster. That was viewed as wrong. She makes a statement to him. Mm-hmm. He wishes to respond, and that's when she interrupts him. She doesn't want to be fact-checked by the guest on her statement.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. You can hear it when he starts getting into the actual facts on inflation. But I just wanted to you don't want to face the truth because you're a liar. Again, these individuals are not journalists; they're activists. You hear it. If you're paying attention, you hear it and see it all the time. I mean, for those that might actually watch what they're doing now. But this is why more and more people distrust the media. Because they see them as activists. I mean, back in the day, I don't have a problem with any of them playing devil's advocate. I really don't. If they want to say, okay, here's what you said then, here's what you say now, explain your position. We actually have seen that before. We've actually seen people conduct or moderate in that fashion. And the left can't have that. When they got rid of Chuck Todd, who was an activist and was, all over the place and emotional, I thought he was going to cry a couple of times, then they had to go with her. They had to go with somebody more radical. And she looks angry. Anytime a Republican is on with her, she looks like her head's going to explode.
Yeah. Like if she's not getting what it is, I believe, if she isn't getting her message across.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you can see the face tighten up.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, she hates it when she gets burned.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. One of the posts that I saw on X that I played, the one with Jake Tapper talking about, or JD Vance telling Jake Tapper, you were promoting the whole Russia collusion hoax. Mm-hmm. Elon Musk is the one who actually posted that and said, there are people that have no idea that the Russia collusion was a hoax because it was all set up by Hillary Clinton.
Right.
It's something that I've talked about, meeting people, and you tell them that, they look at you, their eyes glaze over like, I never thought you were a conspiracy theorist.
I've been saying all along it's a Clinton-esque plan, and it is. It was so sophisticated, and you heard Jake Tapper. You heard, was it Jake Tapper that said it? The FBI was investigating,
yes.
But the FBI was investigating. But the FBI was in. Why was the FBI investigating? Go back even further. You know, they lying by omission, which if you're editing what Trump said in Charlottesville, of course, you're omitting the entire thing. Lying by omission is nothing new. It's part of what they do, including the Russian hoax. Go back to the beginning on that whole thing, and you see it. And the people that are lying to you still are the ones that are lying about everything else. And also the ones who are screaming that the rally in New York City was a Hitler rally. What does it tell you? I mean, seriously, if you're voting for more of that, what is it that you want out of life? If you're begging for more of that kind of behavior from people, the liberal activists in the media, they are full on the machine for the Democratic Party. And if you're voting for that and condoning that kind of behavior, what in the world are you wanting out of life? Does it really come down for your disdain or hatred of one man? Because that's sad.
Listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. One of the number one surrogate, business surrogate, whatever you want to say, of Kamala Harris is Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
And what his best point is, all the radical things that she believed, she no longer believes. Even though she won't say that.
Right.
And as we talked about last week, I forgot who did it, Politico or Axios, whatever. No, it was CNN. Talking about that Mark Cuban, that inside the campaign, they're like, we don't want her talking financial stuff at all because, well, basically she's clueless. Yeah. And she'll get burned, so Mark Cuban's doing all of that.
Right.
But here's Mark Cuban on ABC, right? Listen to this, all right? Because this is just like, wow, just shut up.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right.
What did you think of Harris when she was running for president the first time around, 2019?
I think I wasn't paying attention. Yeah. But look,
But you know the position she took. She was Medicare for all. It was a Green New Deal.
But she was representing the state of California. You can call it the People's Republic of California, right? And so when you have a far left state, you're gonna do what those your citizens want. When you're representing the United States of America, it's a much broader and.
But she took those positions when she was starting to run for president.
I get that. I get that. But here's where we are now. That was not a very long-lived run, and I think she learned the hard way that certain.
Do you think she believed that stuff, or was she doing it to run?
I think she believed it for sure, but I mean, look, she has to speak for herself on those things. What I do like about her is she continuously says she's open-minded, and she's proved it.
Shut up!
You know the video game Pong? Remember that?
Yes.
Okay. At least it had, two defensive sides where you could. This is like Pong without the defensive side where it's just bouncing around endlessly. Wow. It's like, I got the cheap, I didn't get Atari. I got the cheap version of Atari for Christmas.
Well, what got to me is where he was saying he's trying to promote the fact that, no, she represented the state. She represented the state. I mean, what do they call it? The People's Republic of California. She was representing them. Now she's representing the whole country. So what you're saying is she has no positions except where the public stands. And then the next question is, do you think she really believed that stuff? Oh, yeah. You can't have it both ways. God, he's horrible.
Seriously.
God. God. What an embarrassment Cuban is. My God, shut up.
It's just, it is the worst excuse-making machine ever.
Oh, I know. And he's been promoting this for a while now.
We'll go back to another classic toy, the Magic 8-Ball. It's like every answer from the Magic 8-Ball that you shake it up and then you turn it over is going to be another lame excuse, and they counter each other, but it doesn't matter. I've never seen that. I've never seen anything like that, but of course it makes sense when you stop and you step back. Look, I don't believe Mark Cuban's a stupid guy. I just can't tell you what the hell's going on with him right now. Because this is the lamest attempt, multiple attempts in multiple directions of excuse making, and it sounds worse. I said this, I think, a couple of weeks ago. If I were part of the Harris campaign, and there's not enough money in the world, I would call him and say, hey, could you not ever appear for us again? But here's the thing. He's doing exactly what she's doing. He's just doing it in shorter form. She's lying about core positions. She's all over the place. Well, of course, her CNBC-esque surrogate is going to be all over the place.
Oh, she's open-minded. She might float this way. She might float that way.
Listen,
that's what we need. Thanks, Mark.
She's going to be everything for everybody. Yeah, but she's also going to be nothing for nobody. Yeah, you're right. And she's going to also be... it's just weird. It's just weird. Seriously. It's like... Well, but do you believe she meant it? Oh, yeah, well, she meant it. What you just said she was saying it because she's from California.
Yeah, I couldn't even play. There's more. I had to stop then. It was so cringeworthy.
So she's lying now. Well, she learned a lesson. She learned a lesson. That lesson is, I better lie big. In fact, what I'll do is, I know. I'll take the position that Trump has on major issues. The border. You haven't seen a wall. I'll build a wall. Nobody's as pro-fracking as I am. It's just gotten stupid. This is like a weird 80s comedy. And I'm waiting for the bully of a big brother to walk through the door and tell them all to shut up.
I didn't mean to be rude. It just was... Stop it. Just stop it. Stop it. Because anybody can see through it. It's like, well, what you're saying is we need somebody who's wishy-washy who can be molded.
Well, quite frankly...
Into what you wish her to be?
Yeah, quite frankly, being rude at this point is the nicest thing I can do. Based on the level of stupidity.
Golly.
I'm not at the point of, hey, you kids, get out of my yard. I'm at the point of, get out of my city. Wow. It's just really stupid. I don't like seeing people that I believe in other ways are smart, just sound so stupid. That's frustrating to me. You're going out of your way to play stupid, or on these things, you're just making it up as you go along. You're trying to fake it as a surrogate. Just come out again.
Well, no.
Like Kristen Welker, just like Kristen Welker, or Jake Tapper, or Mark Cuban, the surrogate. Just come out and say, I hate Trump.
But it's almost as if Cuban, Clinton, and Biden.
Yeah. Walk into a bar. I've heard this joke.
But all of them are the worst surrogates you could possibly imagine.
Yes. It's horrible. Biden's busy throwing her under the proverbial bus over and over again. And we're attached to the hip. All the things that I did, actually, she wrote most of that. I didn't even do any of it. She came to me. These are her ideas, and we just implemented them. And then you get Cuban, and he's just misfiring an excuse machine, the magic 8 ball of excuses. And then Hillary Clinton is out there saying that people who lie should go to prison.
Yeah, it's just, and those are all the major establishment surrogates, the real leaders, and get Cuban in there to be. But Cuban's just all over the place. It's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
You know, for gosh sakes, did you sell the Mavs to get into politics, or as a political consultant? Buy the damn Mavs back.
Right. Exactly.
Because you suck at this.
It's horrible.
It is.
I mean,
it's
just
terrible.
Horrible. Well, you again, it's become the Fargo episode political season. It's William H. Macy being grilled at the car lot, going, "Oh yeah, well that's the kind of thing you would say when you're running in what do they call it? People's Republic of California. Yeah, but do you think she believed this? Oh yeah. No, she believed it. I mean, seriously, it's turned into that. This entire campaign and everything surrounding it has turned into that one scene in Fargo. I thought it was just Kirby. No, it's all of them.
They're all bad.
They're
all
bad.
horrible.
Oh, yeah, everybody knows I'm pro-fracking. Oh, of course I'm pro-fracking. I've always been pro-fracking. Oh,
and
hey, that's not a wall. I'll show you a wall.
Then I see this weekend, the Harris campaign has made a decision to not really be seen much around Biden. Sorry, there's 8 days left.
Right.
And,
we have a new tactic.
And it's like, you can't stop him. He's president. He's going to go out there. He's going to go out there and mumble and stumble and talk about the fact that you need to vote for Harris because she approved everything in his administration. In fact, she ran it. Well, she was like Dick Cheney to Bush.
The one thing that Joe Biden has had complete clarity on is her attachment to him.
I know.
They're connected at the hip. It's the first time he's sounded clear in a long time.
It was the most definitive on any topic it's been.
That guy could have held his own at that debate. I mean, seriously. It's like, oh, wow. Now I see it. Every single time you look around, it really is. It's just getting worse.
Well, I just love how Cuban calls open-minded the fact that she can't take a position on anything, and when she does, the campaign will backtrack. That's open-minded.
Yeah, right. Yeah. She's open-minded. Well, no, that's a William H. Macy excuse. Yeah. Well, she's very open-minded. Yeah. Well, do you believe she believes those things? Oh, yeah. She believes them too. I mean, it really, to me, I'm gonna miss this so much.
But is there any self-awareness with Cuban? because that's where I screamed and said, shut up, when he contradicted himself within a minute. Within 30 seconds.
Right.
He said one thing and then said the complete opposite 30 seconds later. And it's like, don't you understand? You're on ABC. I'd be embarrassed to go on national media and be contradicting myself every 30 seconds.
Right. This isn't some, small podcast that nobody knows. He's on network television. Oh, my gosh.
Just bad. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, coming up, all these people on the left and what they're saying now. Here's one, Van Jones. Progressives pushed people like Musk out of the party by saying all white people are racist, all men are toxic. That's Van Jones. Remember when what was Van Jones called when he became part of the Obama administration? He was the socialist.
Yeah, I was going to say he was a hardcore socialist.
He was the hardcore socialist of it. Progressives push people like Musk out of the Democratic Party by saying all white people are racist, all men are toxic. That is a quote from Van Jones. That is the racism of identity politics that we've talked about. I wish Republicans would talk about it as much about it as Democrats are. James Carville, there was a thing out over the weekend of him promoting, again, the identity politics situation.
Yep.
Republicans hit it.
Yep.
And, I don't mean just hit it the next 8-9 days, continually hit it over and over again, even after this election is over, irrespective of what has happened, because they're calling you Nazis. They're the damn racists.
Yeah.
And they admit it.
Yep.
Van Jones, right there.
Yep.
We'll have more of that coming up. 866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. Why this election is like a Rodney Dangerfield movie. Coming up following the top of the hour on that. Plus, a number of liberals out there telling her what she should be doing right now in order to win. We'll get to that. But yeah, Van Jones. We were talking about Van Jones. Progressive push people like Musk out of the party by saying all white people are racist, all men are toxic. It's the identity politics or racism of the Democratic Party that we've talked about.
Yep.
And so we know, because we know it exists out there. Why? Because Democrats talk about it, including Van Jones, who is probably you could call him one of the most far left liberal people ever in American government when he was in the Obama administration.
Yeah.
An avowed socialist at that time. I don't know what he would call himself now, but back then he was known as an avowed socialist, and he knows it. Progressives push people like Musk and others.
Yeah.
Look, people with brains said racism is wrong.
Right.
All white people are not racist, and all men are not toxic.
There you have it. Wow.
That's simple.
Yep.
The fact that you went along with that and the Democratic Party as a whole.
Yep.
Not just progressives. The Democratic Party has embraced identity politics.
Absolutely.
It's mainstream.
Yep.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome. Good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. See, Van Jones was on Bill Maher when he said that. Progressives pushed people like Musk out of the party by saying all white people are racist, all men are toxic.
Yep. No, look, they went full on. It became a campaign, and to a large extent went mainstream. When you see it, they were trying to normalize their positions on that. Men are toxic. All white people are racist. Where it made people afraid to talk and have conversations and say anything, or they felt pressured to basically go along. This is how the left operates.
And so there was some interesting conversation. I play some of it, but they're words that we can't play.
Right.
That don't add to the context of anything, though.
Right.
But you had Van Jones saying that, which, again, is the admission of somebody who is as far left as you can be in the Democratic Party, that they practice identity politics, which is racism. Van Jones is admitting the Democrats are racist. It's what it is.
Yeah.
When you say all white people are racist, all men are toxic, that's racist, and that's anti-man.
Yes.
He said it. We didn't say it. We're just simply telling you what the quote was from Van Jones.
Right.
Meanwhile, Bill Maher says Harris needs a Sister Soldier moment on DEI, looting, and teachers' unions.
Yeah.
During his closing monologue on Friday's broadcast of Real Time, Bill Maher called for the 2024 Democratic presidential candidate Harris to admit that the left went too far on crime, rioting, DEI, immigration, and education, and to clearly push back on teachers' unions. We've only got a couple of weeks to go. It's not too late
Yeah, it is.
for Harris to do what many have been calling for her to do since she became the candidate, have a Sister Soldier moment. Now, the former rapper back, when was that, 92, 93? What she had said, and this is a campaign for Clinton's campaign. She came out and said, and this is the Rodney King riots.
Right. Yeah.
I believe were happening at that time. And she said that, I'm paraphrasing here, but it's pretty close to 100% there, that if blacks are killing blacks, and why can't we take a week off where whites kill whites? And Clinton said he disagreed with that statement, and that was viewed as, you take the most radical of the Democratic Party and you say, nope, I don't agree with that, and then that moderates you.
Right.
So people feel safe voting for a Democrat. That's what Bill Maher's trying to do. This is where Bill Maher's in a world of delusion.
Well,
if she came out today, if Kamala Harris came out today, let me go point by point, and said, we went too far on crime. Defund the police was stupid. DEI is wrong. We should not be involved in DEI. We blew it on immigration. We should have never allowed those many people over the border. And the teachers' unions suck. That's what Bill Maher is saying she should do.
Yeah.
You think that would make any difference?
Yes, I believe every liberal who hadn't voted yet, that was considering voting for her, would stay home full on or vote for Jill Stein. I think it would make a huge difference by comparison.
And then this is the Wall Street Journal deputy editorial features editor. Deputy, what is it? Deputy editorial features editor, Matthew Hennessy. Okay. Kamala Harris's biggest mistake. She should have leveled with the American people about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. It isn't too late.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
If you're, because they're saying too late for, the election cycle. Yeah, it is.
Well, nobody's going to believe her.
No.
She's taken a position on everything and then gone back on it. Nobody's going to buy it.
Well, the first thing that would happen is Anderson Cooper would put his black T-shirt on and go down the street and talk to people about why they think she's lying about the whole thing. I mean, there is no way. There is nothing that you can do that's not going to come back at her from her own side, the liberal activist media. I mean, any of these suggestions would have a liberal boomerang effect. Any of them. And there's nothing. We effectively, she's got 5 days to campaign. My advice would be, don't do any more interviews.
And there were a number of stories over the weekend or posts of liberals saying they're furious that she's endorsing, or, that Cheney is out there.
Yeah.
With her last week.
Right. Yeah.
What the left was just getting so ticked off about that, as we said. What are you doing?
Right. And she brought Dick Cheney with her. I mean, he's not on the road with her, but I mean, the endorsement coming from not just Liz Cheney, but Dick Cheney too. We said from the beginning, how in the world does the left believe this is going to work? How in the world does the campaign ignore everything leading up until then about the Cheneys? Liz Cheney, but the fact that Dick Cheney too, well, that throws it right overboard. Look, I think there's the appearance with Michelle Obama. I don't know of anything that helps her. I really don't. I can't think of one thing and not just at this point in the race, 8 days out. I mean, anything she could have done along the way. It's, and I hate these words, it is what it is, but that's pretty much how you would sum it up. There was no way to change the nature of the beast in this case, and there was no way to change the nature of the candidate here. There was no way. You're not going to, their delusional wishful thinking on the left is always in play, as if 2019 never happened, her dropping out of the race, as if them saying and having the conversation that she was a drag on the ticket in 2023. They just all of a sudden, I said for a while, one moment she's not even invited to the dance, and the next moment she's the prom queen.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody buys that.
Yeah. They hated her. She was considered probably the worst national politician of any Democrat.
And the only time that's ever happened is when Hollywood made it up for the movie Carrie. And that didn't go well. It wasn't good. As we are in Halloween week.
I think it's important that we bring up, these things that what Bill Maher is saying, what Van Jones is saying, what James Carville is saying, all of them on identity politics. And Van Jones saying, let me just get to the quote here. He stated that while there isn't any excuse for some of the recent actions and irresponsible statements of Elon Musk, if progressives have a politics that says all white people are racist, all men are toxic, and all billionaires are evil, it's kind of hard to keep them on your side. And so we might want to think about if you're chasing people out of the party, you can't be mad when they leave. Well, that's what we've talked about. We've talked about this for years. And it just shows you, and to any of our Democratic friends listening out there, we've been saying this for the longest time, and you probably disagreed with us. We were right. We weren't lying to you. When we were saying identity politics is going to destroy liberal feminism, it did. When we said it was misogynist, we were right. When we said identity politics and having the identity politics and then combining that with the victim-oppressor relationship would help destroy the Democratic Party and kill feminism, we were absolutely correct on that. Why? because what they're doing is racism.
Right.
And what they're doing is dividing. And eventually a political party has to unite people. And how do you unite people? You unite people on the issues. The Democratic Party has been using identity politics. It's downright racism. So when Van Jones comes up and identifies the problem of something that he has supported since he's been a part of the Obama administration, shows, okay, maybe it's not working. Well, duh. And he points out everything that we brought up. Everything that we brought up. Billionaires are evil. White people are racist. Men are toxic. You judge people by groups instead of individuals. When you practice racism, when you practice intolerance, when you practice bigotry, this is what you get.
Yep. Well, remember after the 2016 election, Van Jones is rolling up his sleeves and going out to, they were going to change the minds of the electors.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up that she had a bigger net loss after that. She didn't actually gain.
Right. She lost one, I think it was.
Yeah. She had a greater net loss than Trump did. But that's to tell you where he is. If you don't know, that's how politically you talk about activists. I mean, they're probably, you won't get any greater. There may be some that are equal to that, but this is a boots on the ground type activist socialist saying this. That's what you have to know about Van Jones.
And I say that because him and Bill Maher were together. Bill Maher, well-known Democrat for the last, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And his show's been around almost for 30 years, hasn't it? I think. Late 90s it started.
Yeah.
25 years plus if you take his old show and this show.
Right.
And Bill Maher is saying Harris needs a Sister Souljah moment on DEI, looting, and teachers' unions. And that means DEI, defund the police, and teachers' unions. James Carville, the same thing in that documentary put out by CNN. The identity politics has to go. We cannot be practicing the racism that we're practicing.
Right.
We've been on this for the longest time. We've taken all types of flack from liberals, and now liberals are saying exactly what we said. We weren't lying to you.
Right.
Your party was lying to you, and now members of your party are coming out and saying, oh, no, this has just killed us completely.
Look, I'm glad that some of them are saying it. They helped build it. They're part of it. But, this is where we are right now. This is exactly where we are. At some point, you have to look at it for what it is. What's interesting, I saw the headline, Bruce Springsteen saying, if I wouldn't start a band today because, the age of the rock stars, in the twilight. I'm a guy who's in his twilight. But the sensibilities have changed. And I see that, too, with the younger generation, my granddaughters and their friends and everything else, and how they view things. And they are very pragmatic. If you ask them about something, they're going to answer you directly. The left has been relying on minds they can shape and indoctrinate. But as a public now, we're more informed, and it has to do with being able to find the answers ourselves. We don't believe you're stupid. The left still today believes you're stupid. We believe you're not stupid, and you also have the ability and the tools necessary to find the truth. And more people are doing that.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. In order to manage speed, you need to understand the 4 factors involved in stopping a vehicle. Perception distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time you see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. The perception time for an alert driver is approximately 3/4 of a second. Reaction distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time your brain tells your foot to move from the accelerator until your foot hits the brake pedal. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 of a second. Brake lag distance also needs to be taken into account. When operating a vehicle with air brakes, it takes about half a second for the mechanical operation to take place. Finally, braking distance is the distance it takes a vehicle to stop once the brakes are applied. Braking distance is affected by the weight, length, and speed of the vehicle, as well as road condition. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley. I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Here is Lindsey Graham on ABC over the weekend on This Week.
Let me just ask you just straight up, where do you think this race stands?
I like where we're at. The issues that mean the most to independents in your own poll are immigration, the economy, and inflation. And Biden won independents by 13 in 2020 in your poll. She's up by 1, so I really like where we're at. 61% of the people in the New York Times poll said we're on the wrong track. So that's the number I look at most, Jonathan, is wrong track. If you're an incumbent, and she is, and 60% of the people plus believe the nation's on the wrong track, and Trump is still leading on the issues most important to people in their daily lives, Trump wins.
Not always.
Yeah.
Why do I say that? Romney.
Yeah. I think, there are a number of things that would be different. I would say the nature of the issues is different than it was.
Oh,
in
yeah. Because it was hypothetical back
right. And that's right now the reality is different on those issues. Now, having said that, I'm shocked that the polls aren't even greater in Trump's favor, given the reality that everybody is facing right now. And by the way, they could be. I mean, the real sentiment, the pollsters might have completely wrong, and we'll see a week from tomorrow where that comes in.
I don't know what poll he was talking about that. She's up by 1 on independents. I don't know which poll that is.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'd have to look at that. But I think the fact of the matter is that there is now so many indicators in Trump's favor that to me it would be surprising if he lost. And it's across the board because you see the frustration from the liberal activist media anytime she makes an appearance or does an interview. They come back, and even on the same channel, they come back with their analysis going, well, what she should have said, well, what she should be saying, and she's not saying it, and they're frustrated by that. But that, along with so many movements in the polls in Trump's favor, it would be hard to believe if he didn't win.
On our website, RedEyeRadioshow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Eric, here's another one of somebody else saying, well, there's still time for Kamala to change her mind.
Mm-hmm.
This is Kamala Harris's biggest mistake. She should have leveled with the American people about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. It isn't too late. Matthew Hennessy, an editor at the Wall Street Journal. Anderson Cooper offered Kamala Harris a layup. Instead, she laid an egg. Is there something in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you've learned from, he asked during Wednesday's CNN town hall. Harris responded to this standard job interview question by offering up a sticky gumbo of an answer that had something to do with raising children and nothing to do with an honest reflection. It was bad, not only the wrong answer, but the wrong approach. Not that she wants to hear it from me, but she should have gone big. I wasn't honest, quote, this is what she should have said. I wasn't honest with the American people about Joe Biden's mental decline. That was a mistake. I should have let everyone know what I knew about how bad things were. If I could do all this over again, I would handle that differently. Could she say that?
No. No, she couldn't, because it would throw everything into turmoil to focus on, okay, well, then should he be removed from office now? Because he would still be the commander-in-chief. That was never going to happen. This is, quite frankly, it's one of those things that you can write and go, see? And I don't care who it is writing it. It's a delusional thought. She was never going to say that.
Because at that moment, she admits, I've lied to you this entire time.
And she's admitting that there's something wrong with him right now.
Right.
And that would throw everything into turmoil. The world would stop. It wouldn't be just here politically, domestically, what the effect would be, which would be massive if she said that. It would imply that she has inside information as to what doctors have said about him, which would be official, and everything would stop. Her entire party, the Republican Party, and everybody would have to start visiting the 25th Amendment thing, and that was never, ever going to happen.
He writes here, voters have memories. They remember being called crazy for noticing the obvious. They sense they were being played for chumps. They know that when Ms. Harris insists, as she does regularly to this day, that Mr. Biden gave up his bid for re-election simply because he had a bad debate, they are still being played. It's an insult to the intelligence of the American people. Some may take it out on Ms. Harris by voting for Mr. Trump. Ms. Harris makes a huge mistake by continuing to evade the question. We'll find out someday what was going on behind the scenes at the Biden White House. Wouldn't it be better for Ms. Harris's legacy if she leveled with the American people now? No. The issue will follow her around like a lost dog for the rest of her political career, however long that might be. The campaign is nearly over. Ms. Harris's momentum is flagging, and the clock is ticking. You can tell her advisors are panicking because they're throwing everything they've got at Mr. Trump. He's a racist, misogynist, a grump, Hitler. And they've even said he's slipping mentally.
Mm-hmm.
If Ms. Harris wants a shot at winning back the trust of the American people, she should admit her mistake and do what she can to make amends. That would be the real October surprise. Well, that's not happening. I mean,
it's not going to happen.
That's
and look, it was never going to happen. She's not going to do it after she's no longer in office. There's not going to be some tell-all book, because it would be admitting putting the country in danger.
Yeah.
She would, not only would it be chaos, it would be horrible politically for her.
Yep. So you can't do that.
Saying it's not too late. Look, part of me wishes she would do it. But the fact of the matter is, there would be an all-out fallout if she did. That wasn't a thoughtful piece. I'm sorry, but you're delusional if you write that. I don't care who you are or who you write for.
Well, here we go with this one. Roy Teixeira, we've talked about him before.
Mm-hmm.
Roy writes for the Liberal Patriot. Is it the Cato Institute he works for? Not the Cato. I forgot where he works. He works for a conservative think tank, because he basically got kicked out of the Democrat think tank because they all had to be in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, come on. I think it was the Heritage Foundation.
Heritage.
One of them said, come on over.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take different voices. Now, he's been criticizing the Democrats. He criticized the Harris campaign. He's criticized the Biden campaign when Biden was campaigning. And back in June, he even stated that the Biden administration or the Biden campaign needs to start co-opting some of the MAGA agenda, and even talked about border security, walls, stuff like that. Exactly what you see happening that nobody believes Harris on right now. But remember, as whenever we mention him, remember, he is the guy that said back in 2004 that because of mass migration, there would be an emerging Democrat majority.
Right.
He is the one who said that way back. I forgot 2003, 2004, something like that. But now he says the progressive moment is well and truly over because of open border policies. Loosening restrictions, this is what he wrote, loosening restrictions on illegal immigration was a terrible idea, and voters hate it. When Joe Biden came into office, he immediately issued a series of executive orders dramatically loosening the rules for handling illegal immigrants. This was applauded by progressives and Democrats as exactly what was called for. Democrats should have seen this coming. Contrary to the claims of progressive advocates, the reality of American public opinion and politics is that border security is a huge issue that cannot be that can't be changed as an attempt to change or humanize the immigration system. Public opinion polling over the years has constantly showed overwhelming majorities in favor of border security. Wow. His 2004 book argued that migrants, women, and white-collar workers would give the Democrats a lock on political power. Democrats were delighted with his prediction, which helped them build a winning coalition under President Barack Obama. Remember in 2016, when the early poll numbers came out with Hillary Clinton? Excuse me, this was 2015, the fall of 2015. And then came back in summer of 2016, Republicans may never win a presidential election again.
Right.
Wow. So there you go. But that's what he states now, that the progressive moment is well and truly over.
Well, I mentioned the sensibilities of, what you could get away with. And the reference to, the what had me considering it even more, that piece I saw on Bruce Springsteen saying that the rock star era is in its twilight years. And I compared that to the political rock star era. Because for the left, there really is no rock star. No. Democrats don't have a rock star anymore. And our sensibilities have changed. And I think just like with music, look, Taylor Swift, quite frankly, I have my own conspiracy theory about how she became famous, remains famous. But this is not about that right now. It will be later. But the whole idea of creating those rock stars to that extent, in any setting, that where you just put the blinders on and you're just going to follow them until the end of time, especially politically. I actually do see why, girls and Tim Walsh love Taylor Swift. They like to dance to it. Why would you create a rock star in any political personality? Well, the sensibilities have changed in that, okay, people are actually asking, and maybe some for the first time ever, but at least they're asking it, what is it that this person is going to do for me? What is it that their role would be if I voted for them and they won?
I do think that when you see, for example, when we talk about Obama being a rock star, Obama wasn't a rock star because of what he thought on the issues.
Exactly.
Harris is not a rock star. When she initially came out, everybody was jumping behind her, and the whole joy thing, that was all bull.
That was all contrived.
And we all know it. She's not a rock star in politics either. Trump is. But why is Trump?
Because of things that he has done.
Because of the things that he believes and the things that he is fighting against that are specific, and a lot of America views those specifics as this country being in a state of emergency with the lawfare that exists out there today from the weaponization of government. There should not ever be a parent in a parking lot or a parent's car in a parking lot that the license plates are being taken down by the Federal Bureau of Investigation because those parents are livid because a male sexually assaulted a girl in a bathroom.
Yeah.
And the educators were attempting to hide it. And when parents became furious about it, the FBI came in to monitor those parents.
Yep.
Sorry. Forget about the big stuff about Trump. We'll stick with that right there. Everything with the Trump stuff, with the lawfare, is totally legit. But right there, you want to encapsulate it right there? That can never happen. And there should be no communications, whoever started it, even a discussion that those parents are domestic terrorists in any form or manner and should be rejected because, the controversy of where that came from. Doesn't matter. It should have been instantly rejected by the executive branch of the United States if they did not come up with that term to describe those parents.
Right.
And so that's why he's a rock star. That's why you have a number of them now. I mean, you look at it. JD Vance. You look at DeSantis. You look at Elon Musk. You look at Ramaswamy.
Yep.
They know they don't all agree on everything, but they agree on the basics of the Constitution of the United States.
There's something more than just the imagery.
Yes.
For the left, it was all imagery.
Yep. All imagery.
And that's what people are looking for. I can almost hear it coming from my granddaughters. So what? Which is the same as explain to me why I should. And people find their own answers today more than ever. They have the ability. We don't believe people are stupid. Some choose to be ignorant and put the blinders on. Those people I can't help. Other individuals will help themselves by finding the truth more and more, because it's not hard to find.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. 8 days away. Anything on the docket for this week? Anything important? Did she agree to do Joe Rogan yet? Sit down for 3 hours?
No.
You saw Fetterman saying that Trump's appeal to the citizens of Pennsylvania is astonishing.
Yeah. In fact, I was just rereading that a little while ago. But is it? It's not astonishing. You can see why. You know why. It's an energy state. It's a lot of middle-class individuals working middle-class jobs. And they want to make sure that those jobs are secure and that their earnings return to what they used to be, their spending power. They want it returned to what it used to be. And they know she wants to shut everything down. They want to punish business, big and small. It's not astonishing at all.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.